Hello, my name is Andrew Boyle. I'm the Firearms Reference Manager here at Forensic Technology. I'm also the liaison to IBIN, which is the Interpol Ballistic Information Network. Today my presentation is going to be about IBIS version 3.2, and specifically we're going to go through some highlights of what you can expect with this new version. So the topics we'll be covering are the correlation changes, changes to match point, general changes across the system, external system interface or ESI, and the new BULLETTRAX. So with the correlation, you will see now with 3.2 a significant increase in performance for every cartridge case correlation score. And if you look at this graph up here on the right, previous IBIS, the matches would separate from the pack, but there would be essentially a cluster of them regardless, even when the matches did separate. What we will see with 3.2 is that the separation of matches to non-matches will be far more obvious, far more prevalent. The graph over here, the bar graph with top 10 correlation performance, shows the increased performance we saw doing our tests with over 2,000 pairs of 9mm cartridge cases. Everything in blue here is where we saw significant improvement with these new correlation algorithms. There is also, as part of that change in accuracy, the score numbers have gotten much larger in their native presentation. So native scores of how they will appear in your list are going to be much larger than what you remember from previous BULLETTRAX and BRASSTRAX scores. To make that easier, there is a normalization that is that's been applied to these, and so the normalized scores will give a standard range with an easier to read number value. There's also been a replacement of the rank sort column with what we now call the unified score. And if you use rank sort previously, you can use the unified score in the exact same manner you were doing so. However, in the background, there are much stronger algorithms, mathematical algorithms are being applied to the entire correlation result set to make sure that the best performing exhibits are showing up from highest to lowest in that unified score list. So you use it the exact same way you used rank sort, but you're getting a better, more accurate list of the best performing exhibits in those results. If you want to get more details about these correlation review changes, you can go to our eLearning website, which is up here, forensic-technology.elmg.net. If you've had training from Forensic Technology in the past, you should have an eLearning account, and you can go to that web page, you can log in, and you can view all sorts of different material that we have, including this one now for Matchpoint 3.2 correlation review changes. This will walk you through the changes in more detail, and also give you some suggested workflows to do with these new correlation scores. If you don't have an eLearning account or you're having trouble logging in, simply send an email to fti.training@ultra-ft.com, and someone there will help get your eLearning account set up and get you logged in. Upcoming changes to Matchpoint. Big change now is to have hit markups being available. So when you're creating an unconfirmed hit, you have the chance now to add markups in the form of these arrows, rectangles or boxes, and even text boxes you can put in there in different colors to highlight and call your attention to areas of interest that you thought were of significance. So as part of the hit context that's saved when you create that unconfirmed hit, it's going to remember all of your settings that you have for the two exhibits down the right-hand column here of your Matchpoint comparison screen, but you are also going to have the chance of saving these with it, and when you revisit this correlation, this unconfirmed hit later on, you will reopen it, whether it's hours or weeks later, it will reopen in this format with all of these indicators still on there. And that's true for your Matchpoint software. It's also true if you use the Vision X comparison microscope. There's a software on that called Hit Viewer, and that's used to view unconfirmed hits while you're working on your microscope workstation. And all of these hit markers will be available on your Hit Viewer software next to your Vision X. The MultiViewer for cartridge cases is now configurable as regarding the order of the images that you wish to see. Previously, the default has always been breech face ring light, breech face side light, firing pin ring light, and so on. Now you have the chance, if you've got particular images that you prefer to work with, you can highlight or change the order of how those images appear for your own personal preferences. That's going to be part of your login. And so if you share that workstation with 3 other users, when you log in, it will remember your settings. When someone else logs in, their settings are remembered as well. So everyone has a chance to personalize their hit viewer regarding the order of images that they see. Other changes in the correlation screen, up in the top portion where all your reference exhibits are, there are 3 new columns that will be displayed. One is for the case occurrence date, another for the case supervisor's name, and also the originating agency's reference number will all be visible in the upper portion where your reference exhibits all reside. In the lower portion where the correlation results are, you will have new columns, one to show the case occurrence date there, as well as whatever case comments may have been made regarding that one. Some general changes. So a new field has been added for exhibit creations for bullet and cartridge cases. That is to tag when the reception date was that the actual evidence entered your agency, whether it's a crime lab or police department, what have you. So the occurrence date's been covered since the beginning. The date of the crime is covered. You'll know the date that it was received by your agency, and then simply by creating that exhibit, you'll know the date that the acquisition took place. And this is sort of a way for administrators to oversee what the efficiency is of how evidence is going through the laboratory. You'll see here now that the reception date has that red asterisk beside it. That indicates that it is a mandatory field. And so in the United States, for the US IBIN network, that is going to be a mandatory field, just as you see here. For the rest of the world, the reception date data field is going to be available, but it will not have a mandatory status. You can use it if you like. If you don't want to, you don't have to. X3P File Output is now possible as well. X3P is the ISO standard file format for 3D type data, and that's not specific to ballistics. That's just 3D data images in general. And so it is not actually the image type that we use within IBIS, but if you're exporting your IBIS information outside of IBIS, you have the option to use X3P as that output format, and that can just make it more easier for it to work with an external software if that's the case. Another new feature is specific for IBIN members. IBIN is the Interpol Ballistic Information Network, and as an Interpol program, it is subject to what they call their RPDs, or Rules for Processing Data. And so one of those RPDs is that when a hit is created between 2 countries, the NCB of each country must be notified. Now the NCB is the representative for the National Central Bureau. And that is somebody from that country's national police force who also has tasks tied to Interpol. So every Interpol member country will have somebody within it who is their NCB, their liaison to Interpol, essentially. And so when a hit's created, let's say between 2 countries in Europe here, if we have Ireland and the Netherlands have a hit created between them, what's going to happen now is an email is automatically going to be generated and at minimum be sent to the 3 participant countries, the NCB in Ireland, the NCB in the Netherlands, as well as a representative from Interpol's firearms program at their headquarters in Lyon, France, will all receive a hit notification email. So just as I said, the minimum recipients are Interpol itself, the local NCB where the hit was created, the foreign NCB of the country it was hit to, and there is also the option to add additional email addresses to this. So if you're listening to this now and you are a site that is an IBIN member and you would like to have yourself or your supervisor or somebody within your agency receive this automatic email when your country is involved in an IBIN hit, you can email customer support, contact customer support for forensic technology and let them know that the following email address should be added to the IBIN hit notification list. When that email goes out, this is an example here in gray of what that would look like. And it really just covers the basics of the first exhibit, which would be the country that created it, the site name of where it was done, the case number, the event type, exhibit number, the category, and the occurrence date. That's all for the first exhibit here, and then the country it was hit against would be the second exhibit down here, the same information, but you now have a summary of what is involved between these two countries. And this would be sent in the four standard Interpol languages, which is English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. External system interface. So IBIS is designed to work within itself, its own network essentially. IBIS communicates to IBIS to get the biggest picture of what it can see regarding its searches with the ballistic evidence. The end result of that, though, is that if you have at your agency some sort of intelligence or analytics software, reporting or data mining software, IBIS right now would not easily share that. However, with version 3.2, you can have an XML format export of your key IBIS information to be able to be sent to whatever intelligence software you might be using in your police department or crime lab, or reporting or data mining software as well. So XML is a structured markup language commonly used to exchange data between software platforms. So that is just a default easy language to be the mediator between our software and whatever outside software there is. And so an example of how that could look would be over here with IBM's i2 Analyst notebook. That is a very popular software being used for crime analysis. And if you were to export your IBIS information regarding the case and exhibit information, where the hits are connected and whatnot, that can help give you a bigger overview and see where the larger firearms crime trends are in your area, whether that's a state, whether it's a province, whether it's a country. It's a way of getting a bigger view of where the hits are taking place, where the guns are moving. All of that can be done by exporting your IBIS data to your outside analysis software, and XML is the format that would be done with. There's recently been a new BULLETTRAX released, and over here we can see just a visual history of BULLETTRAX through the years from 2004 to 2006, a change in the sensor in 2012, and now just recently we now have a new methodology of doing bullet acquisitions with the new BULLETTRAX. Just by the photo here, you can see that it is a smaller system. It is faster in its usage, and it's much easier to work with as well. And because of its smaller size, it is actually a lower price than the previous BULLETTRAX was as well. So just to have a look here, if you're doing a bullet acquisition, you would use the stubs provided, the plastic tips, and you also have a mounting jig here where you place the bullet base down, nose up, and once it's auto-centered, you simply press down with the stub attached to the shaft above it, and that will perfectly center your bullet and align it properly right here. Remove the stub from the mounting jig, place it into onto the shaft of the BULLETTRAX. That's going to retract back into the machine, just like BRASSTRAX does. The door closes, and you're ready to begin your acquisition. And so the acquisition times now, we are looking at about 9 or 10 minutes for a 9mm bullet, a test fire. It's a much easier and simpler setup to work with, and it's a far more forgiving acquisition process. A lot of that is to do with the light methodology that we use to capture the 3D. It is far more tolerant, I think, than the previous BULLETTRAX was. And even if you think about the older BULLETTRAX, if it's something you're familiar with, you know that the sensor during the recording had to be very close to the surface of the bullet, roughly about 1/4 of an inch or a centimeter or so. And so if there was deformities towards the nose of the bullet, whether it was a peeled back jacket or mushrooming or what have you, there could be a danger of that area of the bullet actually having contact with the sensor. That's no longer a danger. With the new BULLETTRAX, you have about 4 inches or 10 centimeters distance between the actual surface of the bullet and the camera lens. So there's no issue there. The methodology that the light actually gets a sense of the 3D shape does so in a manner that gives it a better understanding of areas where there are drastic changes in height. So areas like the shoulders and even the curl at the base of the bullet, you're getting a stronger sense of what's happening there because of the way the light surrounds the exhibit during the actual acquisition. Also, there is a larger surface capture being done with the new BULLETTRAX as well. The previous BULLETTRAX had a photo box that was essentially 1.6 millimeters. That's been widened out now to 2.8 millimeters. So we are capturing further along the bearing surface of the body of the bullet. We're getting a bit more closer towards the midpoint of the bullet surface there. Here are some sample images. You've got the entire full mosaic here of the image that was captured on the far right hand side. On the furthest right, you've got the depth grayscale image. Beside that, you've got the 2D image that was captured simultaneously. And if these images look familiar, it's because it is giving you an end result image that is almost identical to what the previous BULLETTRAX was doing. It's just using a different light source to generate that 3D. But overall, the patterns here are coming across fine. You have the surface view where it's all laid out flat like we see on the right-hand side. We are still tracking the shape like we've always done as well. So you have both images at your fingertips to work with afterwards. And not just for the test-fired exhibits, of course, but also for damaged and deformed shapes. Just like this one here, you must be able to do deformed bullets if you want to have an effective bullet solution. And we're able to do everything that we used to with BULLETTRAX. Just my personal experience, I have a series of damaged bullets that I work with on the old BULLETTRAX, and every single one of them was able to be put into the new BULLETTRAX without any issue at all. And so we're still doing test fires, roughly about 10 minutes in acquisition, doing deformed bullets, crime scene bullets, body bullets. There's no issue there. And that concludes the presentation. If you need to get onto our eLearning webpage, you can use the information above, forensic-technology.elmg.net, or contact training at fti.training@ultra-ft.com. And if you'd like, if you have any questions about 3.2, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can email us at marketing@ultra-ft.com, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So thank you very much.